We now have a dead resident.
Thank you for your comments. I have worked on that project for over a year and a half. I'm so glad there's a representative from PG&E here tonight. That pole has been moved. It was moved on August the 5th. Both Verizon have moved their wires over and PG&E has moved their wires over, and the pole is no longer there. I'm not a traffic engineer, but traffic engineering, I've met with them 3 times along with PG&E, and they will not put a guardrail there. A guardrail will not, according to them, and I'm not an engineer, will not save a life. Actually, it could make things more problematic, having a guardrail there. So we have traffic patrol down there all the time, and it's the residents that are speeding, absolutely. It's the people that live there that are speeding. I don't know what to say to you. The pole has been moved. It was a very expensive project, and there were at least probably 6 meetings in all between the fire department, emergency management, BG&E, Baltimore County, and myself. So you have not been ignored.
Okay, well, why
Thank
can't
you
we
for the
get,
comments.
why can't we get speed bumps?
You don't qualify.
We don't
Why?
qualify. How come
I'm
everybody
not a
else
traffic engineer. We've sent it over 3 times. You don't qualify. You're a collector road.
So is Silver Spring going to 95? They got 6
I'm not
roads.
traffic engineering.
But I mean, can't you
But I
go to
understand the
them
concern.
and say, that's a collector road, why can't we get it?
I don't oversee traffic
So it just
engineering.
goes away.
let-
So it just goes away and nothing gets done.
Slow down.
Mr. Lincoln.
So,
Slow down.
No.
so
You see the slow
I-
down drive is what I'm saying.
we're 2 months in. February 3rd was 2 months for us. So what I can tell you is in that short period of time that the council has already approached me about the need for additional traffic calming in our communities, we agreed in our budget to come that we will carve out a portion of our transportation budget to include a pilot project in every single district. So whether it's speed humps or other traffic calming, we can probably look at if there are other things. If, we can, and we will have our Public Works Department take a look at it again and confirm that it is in fact doable or not in terms of actual speed humps. But there are also other traffic calming things that we are happy to look into with you, and we will be active with that. But I appreciate you giving us the opportunity to try to prove ourselves in terms of being exhaustive and working with the council, because I know that the councilwoman wants to be an advocate for the neighborhood, and we want to partner with her and you. So thank you for raising it to our attention. We will follow up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Ed Kowalski, retired Baltimore County teacher, and brought up a lot of good points about how entangled education and the county budget and all of that is. I heard a really good quote this morning that education is not a charity, it's an investment. And very often I feel like the public views educational requests like we have our hands out wanting things.
Yeah.
And we'd just like to, how does that get changed? Victor Hugo said, there's nothing more powerful as an idea whose time has come. And I'd like to see a shift in the public of perception of what our education means to our county. It means more than just, teaching our students. It means housing prices. It means investment from outside corporations. It means a lot. The other thing that I'd like to point out, the SAGE group, when I went to those presentations, it really seemed that they were only shifting numbers. The Curriculum Commission is about to come out, and they're going to make some recommendations having to do with changing curriculum, changing the way our schools are. And I almost think it's preemptory to start planning for what we need in terms of physical infrastructure. So we know what exactly our educational needs and our programs are going to be. And we know that we need changes. We need more VOTEC programs. A lot of school systems in the U.S. are really doing well with that. So just in closing, I live in a community that we are very much caught up in a lot of the uncertainty. Is the Towson High School going to be built? Are we going to get redistricted? Are we, and a lot of people would just say, you know what, I don't need this. I'm going to Pennsylvania. We stick it out. You know, we're lifelong Baltimoreans. So I know you do a good job.
Thank you, Ed.
So, hi, my name is Donna Wetzel. I am not from District 6, but this was the only meeting that I couldn't be at.
That's why we do 7.
So, one of the things I want to talk about is when you're talking about funding and how you need to get money, you need to enforce the current laws and codes that are there. So rental registries. Some of them, if you look at them, have been expired since 2017. That needs to change. When you call for a code enforcement complaint or a violation, and the code enforcement officer comes out and he sees another one, or you have to call in another complaint. That's not acceptable. He's right there, just deal with it. If I take the time to make the complaint, give you my name, I expect that you follow through. And when it comes to development, we have a lot of development. I wish we could kind of slow it down, no more no more, no more backdoor deals. No more behind closed doors deals. You want transparency, that's what we want. Don't come up with a plan and not ask for our input. My tax dollars are paying your salary. I've been in Baltimore County for 50 years. I used to be proud to say I was in Baltimore County. Now I feel like I'm in an annex of Baltimore City. And I know that a lot of the city residents that live in public housing are currently getting $3,000 vouchers. Don't shake your head no, I work there. I deal with them getting vouchers to come out in other areas. And then I get the calls from these new schools that are getting these kids, and they say things like, how in the world did you deal with them? So if they're gonna be able to live in our area, I expect them to be able to maintain their property, to be able to take care of their trash. Don't put your trash out 3 days before it's due. Don't leave the trash can out. Just simple things. And I understand everybody deserves the right to have affordable, comfortable housing, but I do too. And so if I seem to be angry or I don't mean to be, but I'm just tired. You know, you get tired. And I'm at that point where now I'm tired. I'm past frustrated. I'm tired. And so I want to be able to drive through my community and be proud and not see trash all over the place, not see abandoned vehicles, not call the county representatives and say, we'll be out. I have someone in my house 24/7 watching on a security camera. You have not come out. So I need you to follow through on the promises that you made to us.
First thing I'd say, ma'am, is that actually because of these town halls, we have already directed our enforcement officers, there's already a change in how they approach work. They have been told that if they are out for one complaint and they see another, they are to process it. So that's already being done and has been changed. And that's part of why this conversation is so important. Because look, at the end of the day, we want clean communities too. We want safe communities too. And so we want to partner with you. And then what I'm also charging my IT director to do is to give you, I don't know if you've tried it yet, but we've got this Baltimore County Go app. So when you register a complaint, that you actually are getting real-time updates. You're able to communicate with the code inspector, to ask questions, to facilitate a back and forth so that the community is engaged. We're trying to make this interaction tonight true for all of county government. And if you have a specific case that's been assigned that has not been responded to, please let Pete know behind you so that we can get on it and address it tomorrow morning. We want to be responsive. We want to hear about where we can improve, because that's the only way we're going to do it is working together. So thank you for your passion and your advocacy.
Good evening, County Executive Olszewski, Councilwoman Bevins, and Ms. Rowe. My name is Patty Hill. I'm from the beautiful little community of Block Hill, and I'm here with some of my neighbors to speak about Towson High School. We are actually the southwest border of the 6th District, and we are a community that urban planners like to refer to as inner ring suburbs. And we are considered at risk and fragile and anticipated to have a downward trajectory. And yet we defy all expectations by sticking together, standing together, working hard and working smart. And because our children have world-class education in Baltimore County Public Schools, culminating in Towson High School, my son and daughter included. Generations of Lock Hill children have gone to school there. Many have come back to raise their families there so that their children get the same wonderful education in a wonderful neighborhood. We support our wonderful teachers and school staff. We're very engaged in our schools. And as Mr. Kitlowski said, we have not fled to Pennsylvania or Howard County or Harford County. We stay and we fight. And we contribute to our schools in every which way. PTA officers, area council, advisory councils, task force, school board nominating committee, volunteering in the schools, and raising money to beat the band. So we add value to our schools, and we would like a return in our investment. We are also very aware of the school budget, the challenges, the constraints. We have a work group that is planning our petitioning and advocacy with the General Assembly to get all the money we can get out of the General Assembly for our school system. And we would like you to consider that our outstretched hands aren't just more hands asking for money, but we're reaching out in partnership because we are experienced, we are committed, and we are optimistic that working together that we can surmount the barriers to our new, bigger 21st century Towson High School so that all our children can continue to have a world-class education. Thank you for this opportunity because this is what democracy looks like.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me? Good evening, Councilwoman Bevins and County Executive Olszewski. I wanted to especially commend you on your recent victory for County Executive, and I also want to commend you for creating the Committee on Ethics and Accountability. I think that's something that's very much needed within the county and also within this district. So I'm two things right off the bat, very good. The things that I want to discuss briefly this evening are more quality of life issues. I'm not going to beat the dead horse of code enforcement. Apparently you're aware of the issues and you're working on that. I do want to make your assistant aware, we do have an issue, I won't go into the whole details, but a rental registration that was pulled a few years ago because there was a large amount of black mold in the property. Property sat vacant for a year or two, no remediation was ever done, and the house is now renting again. And I brought that to the attention of code enforcement, and I was told that basically, unless I was the resident, that I couldn't report it. So we can talk about that another time, but that was concerning because there's children living in the house. The other thing I wanted to discuss, public safety. Two things. I've been in healthcare for almost 30 years, and I have been concerned with the way overdevelopment has affected parts of the district, especially the east side. So I did a little survey with some data last year, and just comparatively speaking, for a licensed bed, licensed skilled hospital bed, on the west side of the county, we have two hospitals. You have GDMC and St. Joe's. You have a ratio of approximately one licensed bed per every 250 some residents. Obviously, they're not all going to come at the same time. So that's a reasonable ratio. You come over to the eastern side of the county, it's closer to one bed for every 550 residents. That's huge. Also, the Franklin Square Pediatric ER closed last year without really any warning, and pediatric emergencies are a big deal. Now, you know, I would like to see your administration work on, I know you don't fund hospitals, but I would like to see some thinking out of the box to attract perhaps University of Maryland or Johns Hopkins. We need more healthcare access on the east side, especially emergency room type areas. There's a lot of development, there's going to be children, we're building more schools, we need to provide adequate healthcare. The other issue is public safety as far as the police go. Kudos to Precinct 9, they do a lot with what little they have, and I understand that you inherited, I believe, to be a little bit of a financial nightmare, And
Just a touch.
Just a touch. And I feel for you, but I wonder, has anyone ever considered, we in White Marsh are dealing with issues at the Avenue and the mall. And
Yes.
I can't really advocate that we need to put our police there because that's not a county business, that's a private business. Have we ever thought outside of the box about using special police? These are commissioned police officers who have full jurisdiction, arrest powers, all of that, in a prescribed area, wherever their place of employment is. Why aren't we creating legislation to make these nuisance businesses that are sucking up a lot of our resources and time from people that maybe have a legitimate need for a police call? Why aren't we putting the cost on them? That would give you some money back to do things that we need with public safety, and it would put the burden, if the mall or the Avenue or whatever business doesn't want it, they'll have to make a change, or else they're gonna have to pay for it. Other areas do that, and I think that the special police is something to maybe look into. And that's all I have, and thank you, and I appreciate the transparency. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mary Kitlowski, and I'm from the Lock Hill Community Association, as were the two previous speakers on this side. So as you've heard, we are concerned about schools, and I want to speak to this about the safety and discipline issues in school. 10 days ago, a teacher was attacked and wound up in the hospital at Lock Reagan High School.
Yep.
And that's the school where my husband taught. And I will say that, you know, I don't think I ever told him this, but even as a teacher, there were days where I was worried about him going to school. I was worried about his safety. And that shouldn't be a concern for the people that work there and for the students that go there. And it was said that this was an isolated incident, and perhaps a teacher winding up in the hospital as a result might be considered isolated, but the discipline issues that go on in the school are every day. And I feel like that is part of the budget issue for the schools. If we have a better budget for schools, they can have better resources. And I'm not talking about more officers. I'm talking about more counselors, you know, more people, more resources to work with the kids that are having issues. The salaries that we saw for teachers. Teachers are leaving. You know, they're going to other counties. And I know that the school board's hands were kind of tied and the budget's not done yet, but by having a budget proposed that didn't give raises, that's sending a message to the teachers. And I'll also say that nobody from Greenwood, nobody from the school board reached out to ask that teacher that was attacked how he was doing, if he was, and that sends a message to the teachers too. The teachers deal with these threats all the time, and nobody hears about them. So, to me, that's a major concern, and that's part of our, should be part of the concern in the budget, the resources to handle that. Thank you.
Well, to that point, you know, on the resources, we are anywhere between, depending on which type of position, we're anywhere between 2 and 10 times behind the national recommendations on pupil personnel workers, social workers, school counselors. So we take that very seriously in terms of trying to put the resources in place for our families, for our students, for our teachers. But again, it's about prioritizing that and finding a way to make it happen. But thank you so much for your comments, your leadership. Thank you. Thanks. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Alan Robertson. I'm a lifelong resident of Bowley's Quarters, and I'm an active participant in many community and conservation associations. What I'm here to speak on is, as part of the honest, open conversation that we're having, perhaps we look at an alternative to some of the increases to the taxation, such as on our word use that affects everybody regardless of their economic ability. And one of the places to look would be those private-public partnerships. Some of the benefits they've gotten in the past have been extraordinarily large, and although they've gotten going and in process, perhaps like we create new business generation areas and zones, we create a new tax zone for these public-private partnerships so that we tax the benefits that they've gotten over the last 10 years and get back some of that money. One example would be the Towson Road project that got about $81 million from Baltimore County. That would have been much better spent in schools or a lot of other places. But if we put in a 45, 50% tax rate on that project, we get back millions of dollars now that they're up and running and in process. There are several other projects that could be looked at for this type of taxation. And one example would be a project over in the outside the Girdle on the waterfront that was approved illegally. Baltimore County, without any other consideration and response, is going to be widening the road at the county expense. That should be the expense of that project, not the county people, especially when you're looking for money. So let's take back some of those benefits. This way, we get back the unjust enrichment that was passed on in the past that put us in this position in the first place. These are some ideas I have. I'm limited by 2 minutes, but I'd be glad to meet with you to go over this and actually have you review the project that's been approved illegally inside your county. Thank you for your time.
My name is Jerry Clark. I'm president of Rosedale Rec Council. Been president for 50 years. I do remember you as Wolfwood too, and kind of cruel. What I want to bring up to you is I went to see the principal at Golden Ring Middle School, and I don't know if you're aware of it, but the week before I was to see her, her mother passed away. So I did visit with the vice principal, and he informed me that Golden Ring was going to close and that there's a new school that's being built off of King Avenue. What I would like to do, or ask you to do, is to consider, we need a community center. And in all the years that I've been president here, we've never had a community center. Yep. And I've had different ones meet, and if you remember, you and I met in the same building recently. And to let you know that if Golden Ring could be split, I don't know if you're familiar with Golden Ring, but Golden Ring has a huge gym, an excellent 3 fields. We had to move our wrestling program out because the youngsters were poking at the mats and causing a lot of damage. We moved, we also would like to, we have a library there where the half of the school that belongs, actually belongs to Rec and Parks. We could use that end, that would be our community center if this is all possible. And I was told by this gentleman that possibly the main part of the building, which is the old, for those that don't know it, is the old Kenwood High School. That part of the building, I understand that you want to do, or make offices in there. So if this can happen, I truly would appreciate it.
Well, first of all, thank you for your 50 years of helping to raise little squirts like me grow into like not so little squirts. I will tell you that one of the first conversations I had with Councilwoman Bevins was she talked about wanting to convert that for that exact purpose. So Kathy put that on my agenda very early on. The thing I will say is that the school being available for that purpose is tied very much to this conversation about our schools for the future. And so to the extent we get that state money to keep on our time frame will allow us to actually have that conversation and make it a reality. But I am very much interested in partnering with you, the Rec Council, and your councilwoman to make that available.
Well, you are aware that that school has a complete air conditioning system that was put in.
Yes.
They actually took one of our directors, we had a lot of problems with having that air conditioning system put in due to the fact that in the process of putting it in, the people they had to use certain rooms, and a lot of our baseball equipment was stolen by whoever left the cages open. That's one problem, and I could multiply it, but I gave us some lady here the information of what I'd like to do. One other thing, and you cut me off if you have to.
That's TJ's job.
That's it?
You're good, go ahead.
The lady next to you confronted me some time ago about money. Now, I know she had nothing to do with this, but we were promised by her, and I have a letter that you'll see, where she told us that we would get $75,000, which would go to the Rosedale Rec Council. And the money ended up in the general fund. Now, your predecessor is the gentleman who did that. God rest his soul, I mean, he's no longer with us. But he actually, and this is, I feel factual, he did nothing for the northern part, I shouldn't say northern, the eastern part of Baltimore County, as it counts Essex, Rosedale, and South. He did If he would have, that money would have gotten into the general, it went to the general fund from what I was told. And I've had a lot of people trying to find that money because it should come out of the general fund and come back to Rosedale. And we had already made plans through our council to utilize that money. Also, the county executive at that time promised us, and it's in writing in one of the newspapers, it was that he was to give us $1.6 million. That was to come to Baltimore County, to Rosedale. And he used the term for the park. Well, we ended up only getting $600,000. And the other million ended up going to somebody, I'm gonna say Reisterstown Road, Ramplestown, but we didn't get it. And if you go up in that area, you'll see that there's a lot of things that have been done up in that area that legitimately should have been done. I don't know if these folks know it, but they have a lovely ice skating rink up there. They have a lovely indoor park, and the people from Pennsylvania have told me, because I was in sales and I visited that area many times, they were thanking me, and they say, thank you for being able to build those fields, because we use them. They're coming out of Pennsylvania using our fields. But just little things like that. And as I said, if you want to get in touch with me more,
We will follow up.
yeah, whatever to talk to you.
Jerry, I just want to thank you for your 50 years of service as well. And yes, to let the county executive know, when the neighborhood of Brandywine was built under when Barton Fodder was in the office, it was a PUD. And the promise was made for $1,000 off of each unit to go to the Rosedale Park. And there's 72 units, so that was $72,000 that was supposed to go to Rosedale Park, which is actually in the 7th district, not my district. And I looked for that money, and the administration said that it went to improvements at the Rosedale Park for, they had some issues with flooding. And they said it was spent there. Right, they said it was spent there. So Jerry, that's why, right. So that's why one of my first conversations with the county executive was when the new schools are built and if that makes Golden Ring close, I said it was very important for the rec council to have space there. So I did advocate for that, Jerry.
I left a letter with this young lady over here also that might be of interest to Johnny O. And if a father can tell his son what to do, it's about your father, so you might as well read that letter.
I would remind him if he tried to do that, that I'm the boss. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate it.
I love you, Dad.
Good evening, my name is Sandra Maxman. I'm from the Bird River Road Neighborhood Association. I have a quick aside as a former teacher and with some young teachers that I have taught. Something's got to be done about the general state of discipline in the schools because she's about that. When she walks down the hall and you get some of this foul language out, it's demoralizing. So more than salaries, I advocate, as a former teacher, you need to do something about the discipline, and it's a societal thing, and I know the schools can't solve all the problems. So, very succinctly, Bird River Road Neighborhood Association, Cassie has seen my face here more times than she wants, and I'm going to use Pete Terry from the Bird River Restoration, or the Bird River Watershed, his very simple term, adequate public facilities. And I hear you talking about the schools and the money spent, and we have trailers at Victory Villa, at Vincent Farm, we still have trailers there, and all we're getting more houses, and I say that we do not have adequate public facilities, and I think the policy needs to be looked at as to the number of, when new homes can be built, when you look at the percentage of schools or roadways or sewage or whatever, and I went by that river. I wish I could be more optimistic, but I found that paper in my files from 2007, and I thought, you've been doing this too long, and I'm not sure how much result I'm seeing. So I hope, but I'm not counting on all that something really will be done and listen to us.
Hi, good evening. My name is Colleen Baldwin. I'm the Vice President of the Pleasant Plains Elementary PTA, the parent of a second grader and future Panther, as well as the proud spouse of a middle school art teacher here in Baltimore County. While the county executive may remember me from the 5th District Town Hall, Councilwoman Bevins, you're more likely to recognize me and my family as the Baby Shark crew from the Pleasant Plains Trunk or Treat.
Why?
I'm here tonight to voice my concerns about school overcrowding and infrastructure concerns in the county with a focus on Pleasant Plains, a school community that's represented by the 5th and 6th districts. In recent months, I, along with other stakeholders, have highlighted our challenges at board meetings, with our central area administrators, and in these town hall sessions. While we've made short-term headway around staffing, the fact remains that we are 138% above our state-rated capacity. We're a 509-seat school with over 700 students. Projections from the school system have consistently predicted declining enrollment. However, actual enrollment data just shows quite the opposite. The level of overcrowding creates potential safety concerns at arrival and dismissal, in navigating the hallways and the few relocatables that we have, and providing adequate restroom or cafeteria capacity. Well, by way of example, with 3 pairs of restrooms in the school building, our student to toilet ratio is approximately 23-1. A 2014 facility assessment noted that our building's core space is undersized for its state-rated capacity. Furthermore, about 11 years ago, our building and property were assessed as favorable for renovation and expansion, 11 years ago. While we've been in the mix in previous capacity and boundary discussions, it's been little more than discussion, and we felt little relief from additions and expansions of nearby schools. I am keenly aware that the needs of Pleasant Plains are not unlike those of many other county schools. In fact, a lot of our neighboring schools are approaching or exceeding capacity, suggesting that redistricting alone will not comprehensively address the problem. Clearly, there's still much discussion to be had regarding the school budget, but I'm deeply concerned by some of the operational cuts and capital improvement delays that have been thrown around in recent weeks. I appreciate your candor about the fiscal challenges facing Baltimore County, but I firmly believe that solutions cannot come at the expense of staffing, personnel compensation, or desperately needed capital improvements beyond what is currently planned. Rather than focus on cuts, I would like to hear your specific short and long-term ideas outside of the discussion around development impact fees to significantly increase revenue for the county in direct support of the resources our students, staff, and buildings so desperately need. Thanks for your time.
I will tell you that that's been the charge of our fiscal sustainability commission, and I've asked them to look at both sides of the ledger, to look at efficiencies, look at cuts, and also look at revenues, so that we have a comprehensive look at how we meet all those needs. So we expect to have a report, interim report out middle of this month, and they actually have been working very aggressively. They actually started meeting every week to continue their progress. I think Liz Irwin's one of our commission members. She will tell you that they're working hard and diligently. But that's part of why I wanted to have everything on the table so that we have that full menu to really make smart decisions that are holistic and really thoughtful and look at the whole picture.
Great, thank you.
Well, hi everybody, my name is Marty Silvert, and I've been a long-time resident of Roseville, whether good or bad, for 41 years since I got married. And I'm happy to be here. Is everyone here happy to be here?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll be 70 in a couple of months, so I'm happy to be here. So I just want to ask anyone, did anyone drive down Golden Ring Road to get here? Did you notice anything unusual about that road? What's that? Old, and beat up? Hey, well, you can't get rid of me either. No, nobody's parked there. You know why no one's parked on Golden Ring Road? Because they don't want to get their car hit. Right. It used to be really, really bad when the Hazelwood Inn was open. Then, like, Saturday nights, they'd be coming up to your front door. Now they don't do that. Now they just hit your trees, your cars, my buddy's front window, everything. So it's really bad there. I contacted Councilwoman Blevins, and I know 3 times you told us that you're not an engineer. So I won't even. I'll talk to our fabulous new county executive, who, if he
Flattery
gives,
will get you everywhere.
if he gives everyone what they want,
There you go.
he'll probably move to China. That's right. You can't give everybody what they want. Everybody thinks that what they want is a priority. Well, people come down Golden Ring Road very, very fast. Now I realize there's a thing called gravity, so when you go down the hill, people are going to speed up. Well, you know what? I get woken up 6 o'clock every morning by Ted's towing. Coming down that road like Satan himself is chasing him. And it's not just one truck. A bunch of trucks. Anyone who lives around here can tell you that. But it's not just Ted's towing. It's anyone in a big truck. They come up and down Golden Ring Road all day and night, just like there's no speed limits. Well, the police did something really smart. They put radar there about 10 o'clock in the morning. So I guess they're going to get all the old people going to the grocery store. So, and I'm sure they're just following orders. You need to be there about 6 o'clock, man. You'll get some tickets that'll wow you. However, there are some better things that we could do. Maybe at the cornerstone of Hazelwood, Golden Ring, and Willand, maybe an automatic speed bump. Big piece of concrete, that might be good. Or maybe even a light. Because I'll tell you, when you go all the way up on Golden Ring Road with the light, people just floor it. Then they go down Golden Ring Road just like there's no speed limit. Hey, there are no speed limits when there's no police and no radar. You can just do what you want. Free. So I would just like our county executive just to look into it. Now, I had another project done up at, I know some people are going to think, no, that's the guy. Up at Philadelphia Road and Golden Ring Road. Everyone knows where it used to be one light that said you can turn left. Remember that? Now it's 2 lights that says you can turn left. That's because anyone in the neighborhood either goes straight or they never go right to get onto Kenwood Avenue, because if they are familiar with the neighborhood, they're just going to go up Golden Ring Road and hit Kenwood Avenue. And then go to Pastorius, which is very good too.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. As TJ reminded folks, I'm just looking along both walls and I'm looking at the clock. It's about 8 o'clock, so that we're respectful of school. We got here at 9. If we could do like 2 to 3 minutes, that should have everyone have a chance to make. We want to make sure everyone has an opportunity to weigh in. Thank you.
I'm going to be as close to 2 minutes as I can, I promise. Good evening. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Caitlin Clem, and I'm president of the Lidover Improvement Association, representing 1,400 households in the Overly Fullerton community. I want to thank you for coming over the summer and talking to our community, and we welcome you back anytime. There's 2 things that I want to talk to you about tonight. One is our community plan / streetscape, and the other is Lidover Park. In terms of our community plan, which I have a copy of, that was actually signed into resolution back in 2009 to work along our section of Bel Air Road, to bring in new businesses, to revitalize the corridor. Nothing's kind of really been done with it, and our community has spent money on getting properties downzoned. There are many vacant properties now. The the community plan calls for businesses such as bakeries, florists to come in there. We're not getting any of that. With the streetscape, we have not received any developments on that since 2016. And we are advocating for it on a state level to receive that funding back. We would like your help in working with our state representatives to pressure to get that back from SHA. Our sidewalks are not ADA compliant. Along that section, we have had individuals in wheelchairs have to drive out into Bel Air Road to get to where they need to go to. So we would like to know if we have your commitment to working with us on both the community plan and the streetscape. And then with Lynn River Park, our park is in desperate need of some help. Can I take this out? Thank you. Okay. So right now, the building that our concession stand is in and where Lynn River stores items, it literally has holes in it. The bathrooms barely work. I can't tell you the last time our parking lot there has been paved. The basketball courts are completely unusable, and I have residents in our community, including teenagers, emailing me going, why can't we play basketball on our courts? We're playing out in the streets. That's our community hub. That's where we hold our National Night Out events. That's where we hold our Easter egg hunt. And we need help to revitalize that park. It's just kind of been ignored for too long. And we're wondering if we have your commitment on working with that, with us for that. And I would be happy to tour Bel Air Road and Lynn River Park with you to just show you some of what I'm talking about. So thank you very much.
Thank you. The answer is yes. And another thing I'd say is the state funding of streetscapes and other projects is so critical because they actually stopped doing that. And the councilwoman was just reminding me that she actually put those projects in her request to me. We did not specifically line them out in our request letter to the state, but we did say we strongly urge the state to reconsider its funding. So just so you know, we are with you and want to see the state start re-engaging in that process, whatever we do to help. So.
Thank you.
Hi there. It's actually a little difficult now following Marty, who was just
I know.
here. I actually kept looking for Ted's towing to come in and get me out of here because I'm getting myself a little nervous. But my name is Janice Vincent. I had the honor of being chosen by Councilwoman Bevins to be on the Baltimore County Animal Services Advisory Commission. I know from seeing your concerns that you shared with us this evening, the overwhelming concerns, and then the ones that I'm listening to from all the constituents, that the Animal Services Commission is probably not a huge focus. However, that's what I'm charged with advocating for. So I was very excited a couple weeks ago to hear that you and Sam had gone out for a visit. And I also understood at that time that you were able to talk to some of the volunteers, so was very encouraged. Right before tonight's meeting, I did hear though that unfortunately when you took the tour, you went through with Dr. Jones and Gary Klunk. One of the volunteers that you spoke with said that she told us later that she really didn't feel like she was able to give you the true scenario of what is going on out there because she was only 15 feet from Dr. Jones and Gary Klunk. And actually, if you can believe it or not, the volunteers are actually afraid of being fired. So, from the bottom of my heart, seriously, from the bottom of my heart, it's been 3 years, and it is not what it seems out there. It might have looked clean, but that's really about it, John. Our last meeting in January, we had over 50 people come to the meeting, and they're just allowed to sit. They're not allowed to give us any input whatsoever. So it was a combination of volunteers from the shelter, rescues that work with the shelter, and just general people that have had dealings with the shelter. And a lot of these people get in touch with the committee members to let us know on the QT what is actually happening there. So, and it's not what it looks like. I really believe from the bottom of my heart, if it had 6 weeks, 2 months attention, not total of the whole county, that it could be straightened out and being really something for us to be proud of. We have members from the administration, from the last administration, that are still on our advisory board. That is just adversarial every time we have a meeting, and so we're not getting anything done in that way. I also think a lot of people have been talking about expenses. I think you can save money out there. We know that the salaries of the administrative people are out of range with every other county that's in the metropolitan area. So there's big savings to be had there for the jobs that they're, in my humble opinion, that they're not doing. And also, I've visited 2 shelters that have a private-public partnership. What I'm trying to say, private-public partnership. And it's amazing what these volunteers can do to raise money and have a good time. Barks is one, I know you see them all the time having something. So I think something can be positive out there, and I think if it gets your focus, it can just go on the back shelf.
Thank you, and I will tell you that it is important because it's been raised to us, and I take the concerns that have been raised very seriously. If it's a concern of any community member, anywhere, on any issue, we take it seriously. But seriously, first of all, if the volunteer feels like she would like to have a more in-depth conversation, Pete and the outreach team will set up a time. We can have a phone call as a follow-up. And I will tell you also that we have already, in response to the concerns, dispatched, we have what's called an operational excellence division in Baltimore County, OpEx, and we have sent them in to do a top-to-bottom review of animal services, and they have a report due to me at the end of this month with recommendations for moving forward. So we will have more to say about, what actions might be taken once I have that report back out. They're going to be in there really taking a sort of a deep look, more than just a visit, but really talking to volunteers, going through the books, going through the budget, and coming back with recommendations.
I'm just concerned that if you look through the books and things like that, that's not what you're gonna see. Can I give you 2 examples real quick?
Well, can we connect you with them, and because I think it's important that they have it as part of their review and their report out.
Yeah, well, I wanted the people to hear.
Go ahead.
Okay, sorry.
Just remember, we've got 55 minutes.
Real quick, guy's in prison, can't keep his dog goes out to the county, spends the 3 days in a stray hole, and is adopted. Guy finds out that the family turned the dog over, he's in prison, he calls out there, he got the name and address and phone number of the people who adopted his dog.
What?
And that shouldn't be done if it's just you and me, much less somebody that's in prison. 50-some guinea pigs were turned into the shelter, I think it was in October, and the shelter director and the behaviorist decided that a good thing to do would be pile a lot of them in their car and drive them up into Pennsylvania, where they would be used as live feed for a snake farm. So I'm sorry that that's what's going on, and that's what I listen to on a monthly basis.
And as I said, we take it very seriously, and we're looking for the report so that we can follow up and address the concerns. Thank you.
Janice, I just want to thank you for your service. We have tremendous volunteers in Baltimore County serving on many boards and commissions. These folks do not get paid. They already have very busy things going on in their life. And especially being on this commission, it's a very emotional commission when you're dealing with our 4-legged friends. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Mr. Free. Mr. Olszewski, for you in particular. Budgets have been on governments all over the country have budget shortfalls, okay? Track privatization is not new. Okay? State just put in a section of interstate highway. It cost the taxpayers nothing, and it was a budget, it's tax income. Okay, so what on your list can be privatized?
Well, I don't believe in giving public resources away, but we are looking at public-private partnerships where there are opportunities to leverage public resources in partnership with the private sector. And if you or anyone else has recommendations, that's the whole point of having the ideas at BaltimoreCountyMD.gov, so that we are in that conversation, looking at those opportunities to partner, frankly. Thank you.
Hello, County Executive, congratulations.
Thank you.
And Councilwoman Evans, thank you for this opportunity. My name is Nicholas Lenihan. I'm the president of Lock Raven Village, Associates of Lock Raven Village. And Lock Raven Village consists of 1,500 households. It's a big neighborhood. And it's a really unique and really special place. It's well integrated into its school system and its road network, and it's a walkable community. And we have some good commercial areas around it, so it's a really nice place to live. Well, I have a few things that I just want to bring up to your attention, some things that we've been working on with Councilwoman Bevins, but I just want to go through a short list to put on people's attention of what our concerns are in our neighborhood. First of all, our roads are falling apart. We really need our roads paved, and not just our sister neighborhood, Netashall, it's kind of hard to say where we begin and end, but really both neighborhoods really need our roads paved. One of the unique things about Lock Raven Village is that also people who are commuting back and forth east and west into Towson really filter through our neighborhood, through Putty Hill, Chopper Road, Taylor and Goucher Boulevard. And so that brings up another concern of ours, is transportation, planning, and traffic. And if we can bring back reasonable urban planning back to Baltimore County, it would be a fantastic thing. Just to address some of those issues. Another issue is the revitalization of our commercial areas, the stretch of Joppa Road that we have in parts of Taylor Avenue are really been left behind. And what we've been working with some projects in revitalization districts, I think that the new planning efforts really should reconsider the policies and how the regulations regarding the revitalization districts, because they give away too much to developers who are not really providing benefit to the community. And everything from transition areas go away, F intersections don't matter, they don't need to do any traffic planning or any improvements to the road network. So many things are just left behind. The other thing is, and this was stated earlier, with Pleasant Plains Elementary School, the overcrowding there, we need to get rid of the trailers, we really need to ramp up the staffing there and really help that school. Then revamping the code enforcement. You know, I know that people talked about that, but really it's a real issue. The rental, it is a very big issue in our community. And just the illegal number of people who are living in homes should be there. And the pressure that's put on the residents to solve those problems for the county is just absurd. And we really need to change that, where we have to do all the recording and the documentation of who's going, who can do that, we go to work. So that needs to be looked at.
Okay, sir, can we pass it on?
The rental registry, that needs to be, code enforcement really needs to take care of that.
Thank you very much. We're gonna get your information. We have a ton of people in line. Just gotta remind people about 2 minutes because we don't want to end prematurely with people in line. We haven't had to do that anywhere, but that's because everybody was respectful of one another. So thank you guys.
I'm watching the clock. All right, so I'm Mark Baskerville. I'm with the Baltimore County Campaign for Liberty. We're against tax increases. We're against any sort of forced Section 8 housing. So I just want to get a clarification. Is it true that you are putting tax increases as a last resort?
Yes.
Okay. Does that also follow that you're putting spending increases as a last resort?
No. I believe there are certain investments we need to make in our community, including our school system.
What about net spending increases as a last resort?
Certainly, if we can avoid it, that's the priority. But at the end of the day, this is about balancing the needs of our communities with the budget, and that's why this conversation is so important.
Okay, just want to point out that potential contradiction. So, I noticed in the revenue versus expenditures chart that if we simply backed up to 2017 levels of spending, obviously that would not be like going back to the dark ages or anything. That would balance the budget. So now that's an idea, just overall perspective that, you know, it's not a huge loss simply to just hold the line at 2017 levels. There already is a tax increase built in through the over 10% property tax assessment increase that has been reported for Baltimore County. I also want to point out that spending and services are not necessarily the same thing. So for example, what is the county executive salary currently?
It's $175,000.
Okay, would you be willing to do the job for less than that?
Do you want to take over? Because you could run for office.
Okay, just want to point that out. And also, pensions for politicians is that it serves zero public benefit. So is there really any need to have that? There's obviously not. It serves no public benefit. Thanks.
Thanks, Mark.
Oh my God, put your hours into that salary, to see if you're
Oh,
not.
I get paid minimum wage if you count.
That's right, make a quarter an hour.
My name is Nolan Ginsberg. I'm a resident of Parkville. I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here. I have one question and then two comments. We're very fortunate in our community to have double block park. I believe there's been money in the capital budget for improvements. I was wondering if you get an idea of when we can expect to see the improvements made to Double Rock Park.
That's a good question. I have a call into Barry Williams, the director of Rec and Parks. It's the $500,000. $250,000 was a bond bill from Annapolis, and then we matched it. I gave them a list of the priorities, and they have not been worked on yet. So.
Traffic calming. I might say I'm supportive of it. I like to think that it's maybe a safer and saner driver, but it needs to be done properly. And in older areas like Parkville, many of the streets were not built to the same standard. There seems to be a standard design for speed humps of where they are constructed from gutter to gutter. It assumes that there's a crown and therefore water is diverted to the gutters. In our area, many of the roads have sunk or lack a crown. As a result, the speed hump creates a dam. Water ponds, the water leads to deterioration, further deterioration of the road. And as we've seen in the recent weather that we've had, they form ice ponds, which are very dangerous to traffic as well as pedestrians and children going to school. So I would hope that in the future, as corrections can be made where necessary, and that thought given to how the speed humps are constructed so they don't create problems but serve the purpose of improving safety. Third area, I've been in Parkville, it's approaching 15 years. There was substantial investment made in improving the streetscape along Harford Road. In the 15 years that I've been here, there's been an increasing vacancy rate in the commercial structures, and many of the businesses that have come in have been very short-lived. You've talked about a partnership between the public and private sector. I think here is an ideal opportunity where the county can work with the private, with the commercial sector. There is an active business community there. And to do a study that looks at the changing dynamics of the area, it's reflected in the schools, and the age of the community is such that we're getting a lot of younger families, but with a good study and marketing, and where strategic public investment can support private, I think much can be done along Hartford Road. It would improve the tax base.
Okay, one of our community,
additional revenues.
okay, one of our community representatives can get some additional information from you. Sorry, we just have to speed it up.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir, appreciate it.
Okay.
Good evening, County Executive Oshetsky and Councilwoman Bevins. I'm Colleen Carr, and I'm the proud parent of a first grader at Pleasant Plains, as well as 2 future Panthers, one of whom will be in kindergarten this fall. I'm here tonight to voice my concerns about school overcrowding and infrastructure issues in the county, but especially at Pleasant Plains. Recently, many of my fellow Panther parents and I have been speaking about our needs at school board meetings and at a recent town hall in the 5th District. We've already heard about our significant overcrowding from my friend Colleen Baldwin. With this level of overcrowding, lunches start at 10:30 a.m., which is only 2 hours after kids are given a breakfast at school. My son's lunchtime is 10:45, and he's not usually hungry at that time, and so when I pick him up at 3:20, he's starving. I know this is budget season, and I wanted to encourage you to approve a budget that not only includes step increases for teachers, but also one that provides adequate staffing resources for additional staffing for behavior interventionists and behavior resources, school social workers, guidance counselors, special education, ESOL support. I know you understand the needs of a school being a former teacher. I would also like to encourage you to keep Pleasant Plains in mind for school expansion as you look at solutions for school overcrowding. Thank you very much for your time here tonight.
Thank you so much.
Hi, so I'm Phoebe Evans Latosha. I'm a advocate for Towson High School, and I am here to ask about impact fees. So when I look at the stark fiscal realities that we're facing, I ask, how did we get here? I hear all sorts of issues about quality of life in these town hall meetings. The roads that aren't paved, our overcrowded schools, the sewer systems that are polluting the Chesapeake Bay. These are all quality of life issues. And why aren't we charging impact fees? Well, part of it is because Baltimore County doesn't have the authority from the state of Maryland to do that. So tomorrow, the Baltimore County delegation is going to be hearing testimony in support of a legislation to give Baltimore County the authority to impose impact fees. So part of my question is, if that legislation is successful, would you support Baltimore County actually doing that? Because one of the issues with impact fees, so development impact fees and building excise taxes enable local government to collect the revenue from builders for the public facilities necessitated by new residential or commercial development. As a result of these development charges, local governments are able to shift costs of financing new public facilities from existing taxpayers to individuals responsible for the development. So the legislative services analyzed the same bill last year and indicated that if Baltimore County imposes a fee structure similar to Anne Arundel or Prince George's counties, Baltimore County revenues may increase by $15 million to $30 million annually. Now, we didn't do that back in 2005 when we had the opportunity. So how much money have we left on the table? In addition, how much money have we, the taxpayers, been funding to improve the roads for the new development, to improve the sewers? Why are roads and sewers and schools in such bad shape? Because there's been deferred maintenance. That that money has gone for developers and it hasn't gone to us. So that when we hear there's no money for roads, schools, infrastructure, we're paying for that for the developers. They need to pay their fair share too. So would you support
So I'll put it this way, I'm here tomorrow, you will see a letter of support for legislation at the state level from the Baltimore County Administration.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening, I'm Ray Heil, I'm a resident of Lock Hill and a registered, Maryland registered landscape architect. And I'm here on behalf of the Green Towson Alliance, a group of environmentalists and conservationists dedicated to making Baltimore County greener and healthier and more sustainable. We have two requests to make tonight. The first is regarding the county's policy toward trees. We all know that trees are necessary for our own health and the health of our planet, but Baltimore County pursues policies and practices that destroy healthy, mature trees without sufficient reason, and that limit the chances of newly planted trees to survive, and that shortchange planting of trees under the Maryland Forest Conservation Act. So the Green Towson Alliance strongly urges both of you, Kathy and John, to reform county government policies and programs for planting and care of trees. And we stand ready to work with you to craft reforms that will ensure a healthier and more widespread tree canopy in the county. Our second request has to do with the overarching problem of climate change and how it's impacting Baltimore County and District 6. We were all shocked when we witnessed Ellicott City, just over the border, flooded twice in 2 years, severe flooding. And we wondered, many of us wondered if similar events could happen in Baltimore County, and the answer is yes, they can.
They have.
Some of our communities have already experienced significant flooding. The primary cause of flooding has been record rainfall. Last year, the county, or the state of Maryland, experienced almost twice its normal annual rainfall, average rainfall. And the second major cause of flooding is development, which creates acres of hard surfaces, making it impossible for rainwater to penetrate the ground as nature intends. In 2012, the state of Maryland initiated a stormwater remediation fee for the 10 most developed jurisdictions in the state to fund stormwater improvements. In Baltimore County, the fee would have added less than $40 to each homeowner's annual tax fee or bill. But in 2015, the county council voted to rescind the stormwater fee. And at the time, the administration said they had sufficient funds to do whatever stormwater management work they needed to increase water quality and protect citizens from flooding. This was done when comparable jurisdictions such as Montgomery County, Prince George's County, and Baltimore City implemented their stormwater fee, and they're now using it successfully to do stormwater improvements. So it's clear that in our current fiscal situation in Baltimore County, the county government really cannot afford to do all the work needed to improve water quality and protect communities from flooding. Increases in rainfall and worsening water quality in many streams make it necessary and urgent to restore the stormwater remediation fee in Baltimore County. And we urge you both to begin the process of restoring that fee so that county government can do the work they need to do to protect us from flooding and to improve our water quality. And Green Towson Alliance is ready to support any efforts you can make and with technical information and so on. So we would appreciate it if you would consider those two requests.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you, Ray.
Hello, everyone. My name is Christina Menninger, and I've been a resident of Baltimore County on and off for about 3 decades now. And I've become a community activist, very active in our community over the past year and a half. And through those 3 decades or so, and particularly over the last year and a half, I have had very serious concerns about certain things in our county. And And it's particularly, I mean, what I'm gonna talk about is nothing new, and and what's been happening now is nothing that, basically, we need to, in our county, we need to stop the fear mongering. We need to stop the racist dog whistling. We need to stop using words which create and encourage race and hate, racism and hate, and we need to stop blaming the city, and we need to address our own issues, which, yes, are deeply rooted in our community. We cannot use fear to drive policy or to solve deep-rooted issues within our community. When fear, crime, concerns, particularly those in which statistics do not support and racism are a part of this process, people lose access to opportunities and we further segregation. We need positive, constructive ways to solve our community's deep-rooted issues. One of those ways is through ensuring access to opportunities by expanding public transit throughout Baltimore County. Another way is through increasing funding for youth programs, because we cannot put a wall between Baltimore City and Baltimore County. Another way is through increasing funding for youth programs, recreational activities, and work development programs. I would like to see community leaders fight for and create positive, constructive ways to expand and ensure accessibility to everyone in our community and beyond. Equity is needed in the Baltimore region. And if anyone is confused by what I have discussed now, I am taking a workshop with Baltimore Racial Justice Action this spring, and you guys, there's only so many spaces, but it is going to be a great opportunity for me to learn how we can end hate and racism in our community.
Good evening. My name is Ruth Howard, and I am Baltimore County Commissioner for Women, and I serve as the president for the the Honeygo Ridge Homeowners Association. And our main concern is the White Marsh Mall. On Friday and Saturday nights, we really enjoy going to the Avenue for the concerts. And we've seen an increase in crime. So as she mentioned, the community centers, I know that for a fact that the community center over in Randallstown is open till 9-10 p.m. Our community centers generally close at 6 o'clock. So if something could be done with that so that the kids could have somewhere to go instead of hanging out at the mall. The population has increased tremendously in District 9, but I don't think we've had an increase in the amount of police officers in that district. And that could be a serious health hazard or hazard to them. Thank you.
Speaking of community recreational opportunities.
Good evening to everyone. My name is Juanetta Thompson. I am the Executive Director of the Garden Village Community Association. And first, my friends up here, thank you so much for visiting our community center during the summer camp program. And Kathy has been a supporter of us for like many, many years. But I wanted to put my word out there about a community center, which is much needed. And as you saw when you came to our summer camp program, we operate out of 2 townhomes that we turned into a community center. This makes 23 years that we have held a community summer camp in the Garden Village community. And we can only have 45 children in that community center. There is a need for a community center in this area that would not only support the young people, because people up to the age 11, after the age 11, where are these young people going to go? A lot of parents are saying to me, can you please go 12, 13? We don't have the space. And not only do we need something for our young people to keep them involved in positive activities, but we need something for our senior citizens. I'm kind of like in that group. Okay. When I went past 66, I knew I was in trouble. So we need activities for our senior citizens, someplace where they can leave their house and shoot pool or play cards and just socialize. So our community center that would serve not only our young people, but our senior citizens as well. in this area, in the Highland Hills and Hazelwood and Garden Village community, I feel that some of that is very much needed. Thank you.
I'm not in the district, I'm not in the district, but.
You want to raise it up a little bit? There you go.
My name is Terry Nolan. I've been a volunteer for Perry Albright Council for 25 years. So I've seen the investment we've made in the county of parks, athletic fields, turf fields, and of course, we would love to see more, but there's a budget reality. My concern, though, is the maintenance. 2-3 years ago, it was deemed that Parks and Recreation no longer had maintenance, it went to property management. Property management does a good job, but the priorities aren't there. When there's a hole in the field, when something's wrong with a facility where you have children playing or adults playing, and it takes 3 or 4 weeks to get it fixed, or 3 months to get it fixed, that is not getting you return on your dollar. You have your heads of the department look how they're spending their money. You need to spend it, make sure nothing's left on the table, but efficiently. What you're spending is costing you more money. We have a contractor, a couple things. Contractor cuts grass. Their job is to cut the grass. They don't care. So 3 inches of rain, they're out in the fields with heavy equipment. Their ruts this big. Who do we pay? We pay them to fix the damage they do. They're the concerns I have. Whether we take maintenance back ourselves and give Parks and Recreation their own maintenance, but that's staff again, and I understand that. But there has to be some responsibility of what they do. 3 strikes, you're out. Contractor at Perry Hall Park, 3 years in a row, have put 8-inch ditches in fields, and the fields were closed. Or the counties turned on the sprinkler systems and flooded the fields. So we invested a tremendous amount of money in these parks and these facilities. We have to do a better job working on them. I would like to see us have a private, public, I don't want to pay somebody, but there are groups that will take care of their parks. Right now, if there's a hole in the ground and I put a bag of dirt on it, I get in trouble. All right? Kid didn't break their ankle playing soccer, but that has to change. Right now, yes, there's a camp, I think it's camp program or what it's called, but it allows me to pick up trash. Nothing else. I can't mow, we couldn't mow the lawn and stuff. So that's why I'm concerned, and I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take a look into that.
All right, the gentleman sitting down, were you in line? Yeah, you, the one looking around? Yes. All right, you're the last guy, this is the last lady on this side. All right, let's try to keep them short and we'll wind down. Thank you.
Good evening. I've been short my whole life, so it's not going to be a problem. My name is Eileen Andreas. I'm the president of Rosedale Volunteer Fire Company. I'm also retired from the Baltimore County Fire Department. I continue to maintain my paramedic and firefighter certification and serve the community, so you get fire and EMS service from me at no cost.
Thank you.
And what I'm advocating for is also going to cost you nothing. I'm just advocating that you fully fund the loan fund that the volunteer fire companies across the county use in order to purchase their own equipment. This fund, loan the fire department's money, we pay it back. But the fire department loan fund is in very low, dangerous straits. A lot of the companies are trying to update their equipment, and fire and EMS equipment is very expensive. Baltimore County collects from the citizens and insurance companies a lot of money every time they take an ambulance transport. That money goes back to the general fund. I don't know if everybody knows that. Does not go to the fire departments. So just advocating for fire department funding. Thank you.
Thank you. And those sentiments have been echoed as we've been doing all the installation of officers at our volunteer companies. I think I'm on my 5th and 6th one this weekend coming up. Thank you for your service.
Hi. My name is Amy Sparta. Expect you to remember me. Okay. But 10 years ago, when you were a delegate, you actually helped my daughter get a online virtual school law pass. Remember that the kids got put into the DED program 10 years ago? Well, it's 10 years later, and although the law got passed, Baltimore County still doesn't have a virtual school online program. If they tell you that they do, because they told Senator Plasmeyer that they do, call tomorrow and ask them if you can enroll your sixth grader in the online virtual school program and see what they tell you. And then you'll get the honest answer, okay? So there are families, whether or not you're trying to fix the bullying problem, you're trying to fix the violence, you're trying to fix the overcrowding, you're saying half of the budget that you have, I understand everything about that. This could possibly help you. Companies are going to telecommuting. There are a lot of kids that their parents want to keep them home for whatever reason, even if it's just that they need a break, just a break from the stress. So please look at this and look at that option again, because so that we can actually have a virtual school program. That's the first thing. The second thing, and I think everybody probably in this room has had this affected, had their car hit by a shopping cart. Okay, in Walmart, if you call Walmart up on, because this is for Rosedale's area, right? Up on Philadelphia Road, and if you call the manager up there and ask her, she would love your assistance with their district, with telling them to get chains for their shopping carts. She has no problem with it. She's been fighting with them for it because she keeps replacing them, and they're all ending up on that brand new nice bus stop. Okay, so she wants to help because I call her daily to tell her to go pick up her carts. So if you could please help us with that and create a law or something, that'd be very easy. Price Right has it, Aldi's has it, ShopRite and Dundalk has it. They all have those chains and they're working for the locks on the wheels. Why can't Walmart and Sam's Club and go?
So I'll start the second one and go back to the first one. If you want to connect our outreach team with your contact there, we're happy to advocate up. And then if that's not sufficient, and if there is sort of a policy or a law change, we can then sort of, you can talk to your councilwoman here about the legislative branch can legislate. But we'll try to get it done just by working with them to see if they'll do it. As it relates to the virtual school, was proud to support it in the legislature. And frankly, when I was chair of the county house delegation, that's why I pushed so hard for elected school board members, because they are actually more accountable. I've already seen it already. I've seen Lily and her colleagues be very responsive to the needs and be advocates. So I would encourage you to, if you're in District 6, talk to Lily, or if you're in a different district, talk to your school board members. It's been fun to watch their interaction with the community on those issues.
Okay.
Thank you.
No go, and the last one. One more, real quick. And I think it happened because a couple people hit on the landlords with the Section 8, and I know you went kind of like this, like, oh God, not another one. The mom and pop landlords that only own a few homes, okay? Whether it be their mom's home, whether it be their grandmom's home, wherever they inherited it from. With Section 8, and if I'm wrong, please educate me on this.
Sure.
With Section 8, if they happen to not have a taxable income, so they don't have a job, they're not Section 8 that has a job, they're Section 8 that don't, and we can't discriminate between each one. If they don't have a taxable income, we can't sue them for the damage that they do to the property. So if they happen to get, and everybody goes through it, you get a bad aid, and they destroy your home, as a mom and pop with only one house or two houses, we can't absorb that $50,000 cost to remodel that house. Whereas a big conglomerate that has 100 houses, 1,000 houses, they can, because they can spread that amount over.
So without getting into the weeds too much of the Home Act policy, I am required under federal law or a federal agreement to introduce a legislation that would just end discrimination based on source of income, which includes vouchers. What it does not require me to do, though, is I can work with the council, and I intend to work with the council to introduce a piece of legislation that actually accounts for situations like that. So one of the things we can talk about as part of the conversation is, can we do an exemption for small amount of, so like if you own or inherit a parent's house, you're not obligated to sort of have all of those requirements and go through those process, but really it's so that it would then be intended for those larger organizations. If the law passed, it would just apply to them. Those are the kinds of conversations that we'll have on any issue, because I think that's how we make better legislation across the board, make things pass.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Hi, my name is Kathy McCurry, and I am a business owner in District 6, and I live in District 7, which is in Rosedale, the other side. I am so grateful for you guys. You put in countless hours that you don't get paid for. You're away from your family. There's not a price you can put on that. But I'm very grateful for you all. And I just want to do a shout out to Kathy. I run the Baltimore County Business Association. It's all volunteer. I don't get paid. And every time we reached out to her, she's been there. No matter if it was a no answer or a yes answer, we took it and we went home. We didn't growl and complain. We had to pick up our own trash. We did it. And I really feel like I would say that more people in the community need to get involved with local things such as the hospital that I'm involved with, the college that I'm involved with, backyard restoration that I'm involved with, and I'm a business owner and a full-time worker, and I have a lot of hours away from home, but it's for my community, and it's so important to me to live and work in a clean community. My shop has shut down early on a Friday and went down the street and cleaned the streets just so that we have a presentable place to work. Sometimes you have to put a little effort in it and do a little work by yourself, but other times they can come out and provide. And I'm so grateful, and I thank you guys. And I guess I'm a business advocate too. I don't know what I really am, but I go out in the community and I stand up for the businesses, I fight for them, and I also stand up for the residents. And I thank you so much for sending Brad to my association meeting. That meant so much. People need to learn how to use these people to talk to them in a right manner to get something done. Give them a little sugar and get something done. Don't come up and be all sour and expect miracles. It's very hard. I feel that in my own business. People come in, I want this, this, this. Well, be nice, and I might.
Hi, my name is Melissa Banneker. I live in Parkville. And I've heard a lot tonight about staying and fighting for what's right, even when it's hard, and I definitely believe in that. And I think it can sometimes be easy to blame, but it can be really hard to understand who they are and where they're from. I hear that people are upset with their neighbors and tenants, but I'm also thinking about children and families who live in poverty. A lot of them live in houses that are filled with lead, they're decrepit. All the research, all the science shows that these conditions lead to committing crimes, lead to bad behavior that affects their school, their behavior in school, their grades in school. It leads to them dropping out of school and not getting opportunities that give them a better life. So what do? They go to crime, they go to other things like that. So as a parent, if I was in that situation, I think what would I do? I would want something better for my child. So I would probably want to move to a better neighborhood with better schools. But then my landlord doesn't want to rent to me because there's a lot of paperwork involved. My neighbors don't want me there because I'm loud or I have trash in my yard. I don't think that's acceptable, but who knows why that is. I think it can be, but I worry that when we exclude people, we're making it really hard for them to uplift themselves out of poverty. They get trapped in it and it's not their fault. And then the cycle continues, crime continues, all these other things continue. So I'm not asking for something from the budget necessarily tonight. I just think it can help to talk to your neighbor, see what's going on, see what you can do to help. And I just want to make sure that when we're talking about education, we're talking about all children, that we're including all children and not excluding anyone for something that they're born into.
I'm Janet Miller. I live in Middle River, Hawthorne specifically. I'd like to request, first of all, that all agencies of Baltimore County adhere to the laws and regulations that are set forth by the county, state, and federal government. And then I'm going to talk about rats. I live in Hawthorne, and we've had, I would like to have an immediate stop of the second daily trash pickup. I think it has been an absolute waste of money, because I do have cans without lids, or cans with lids, pardon me. I have cans with lids. It's my neighbors that don't.
Yes.
Every member of Baltimore County is paying for that second trash pickup, even if they keep their property clean. What needs to happen is it needs to be addressed with the people that are not doing it.
Yes.
We talked about code enforcement. Code enforcement needs to have additional funding and staffing of on-the-street code enforcement agents. They are actually enforcing Baltimore County laws and regulations. And they should not be limited to a Monday to Friday, 8 to 4 job, because the laws get broken at 4:30 in the morning when those beautiful silver trash cans had the plastic bags taken out of them and put out for the garbage men. But they would not normally get a citation from 8 to 4. They should be provided with Baltimore County vehicles, and those vehicles should have tracking devices on it. One, you can confirm where they are and protect them if they need safety, because I have heard of them being attacked. They should also be proactive, and it sounds like you're addressing that and not simply reactive. For neighborhoods subject to rat infestations, the code enforcement officers should precede both the garbage and the recycling trucks in documenting and issuing warnings or citations for cans without lids or recycling them in plastic bags. And I have to say, I do like my garbage people. They are great. And I am amazed at how many people put out recycling in a plastic bag. They should not be taken, and they should be cited for it. If citations by code enforcement are issued for animal feces, we all are in the same county. So if that's issued, an immediate notification of the database should go over to Animal Services to confirm that there are animal licenses for those properties. You can't have animal feces without animals. All the animals are supposed to have licenses. If residents continue to harbor rats, and I have a neighbor that you see it, you see the rat burrows, you see the dead rat corpses, okay, behind their house, then what should be happening is appropriate assessment for contractual rat abatement should be charged directly to them, not to every other individual within the county. We have street sweeping. It is extremely frustrating because I worked with the Baltimore County Department of Roads and said, hey, listen, can I pick 2 days a month and you sweep the Hawthorne community? Odd number days, do odd side of the street. Even number days, do the even side of the street. We're a road hump community where you can park. But it's frustrating because you don't have any enforcement, you don't have any signs, and no one knows when they're coming. It's a waste of resources for Baltimore County. You talk about White Marsh, you talk about the Avenue, you talk about Towson Town Center. If Baltimore County is so fearful for its citizens, then they need to issue a countywide curfew and not limit it to specific neighborhoods or developments. Schools, they need to have an immediate audit. And this is one of the reasons I asked for following rules and regulations. About 3 years ago, just before National Education Week, at my local elementary school, I saw a huge, oversized sign erected on the front of the property. I discovered over 50, maybe 52 or 54 similar signs were erected at other public schools in the county in direct violation of signing regulations. So who do you get in touch with? Well, I called Baltimore County Public Schools and talked to them, and their comment was, quote, Baltimore County schools can do anything they want. That's scary.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How you doing? My name's Corey Jones. I actually live in District 7, but I can walk across the street and get to District 6. I'm here to
We'll let
talk-
you in tonight.
I do a lot, I live a lot of my life in District 6, and I'm actually here to talk about the public libraries, specifically and underuse of public libraries. When I was a kid, I loved going to the public library, and the investment in the libraries has been great. However, it's a different time from when I was a kid, and it's pretty much funded the same way. Other counties in the area, in the state, actually do it's a way to supplement education for younger kids. They, instead of being a jack of all trades, and a master of none, they specialize libraries, put a specific topic, go really in depth, have presentation, have a section of the library dedicated to a specific topic. Like, go there, learn about that in depth, and then go to, we have 19 libraries in this county. and then a couple roaming ones. So I really, I think that would be a great way to supplement education, and it really would be free because it would be a redistribution of funds going towards the libraries instead of getting everything being the same cookie cutter library, the same copy paste all throughout. You specialize each one, and I could go over with Pete after this as well. And it's a way to give kids access to something where they can really just start getting inspired in something educational, and they can go after school, go on the weekends, and it would be a better use to supplement our education system. Thanks.
Thanks for that.
Thank you. And our last comment of the evening.
My name is Bob Bendler. I'm the president of the Essex Middle River Civic Council. And I was at the 7th District also, and I was informed that I am allowed to talk twice. Because the Essex Middle River Civic Council has a large portion of its territory in the 7th District and an even larger one in the 6th District. I'd like to mention one thing before I go into my comments. And if I get cut short, I have them in writing and I handed them in.
You're fortunate that you're the last speaker, and it's 8:53, so we'll give you your bonus time.
Thank you very much. Thank you. First of all, Kathy has a strong, long relationship with community groups.
Yes.
The community groups and the Essex have been very fortunate over the past 10 years of having a good relationship with the county, and for the last 9 years specifically with Kathy. She's been to many of our meetings. Now, about the county executive. He said in a recent discussion, it was a candidates forum, he said, I believe it's important to get out to the community associations and listen to them. Believe it or not, it took him 2 days. He was inaugurated, and 2 days later, he's at the Essex Middle River Civic Council, and he spent a tremendous amount of time here on a very important topic, and that's been a stronger message than any other lip service could give. He was there, and he listened, and in the end, came up with a program that's tremendously beneficial to all of Eastern Baltimore County. I'm talking about the financing plan for Trade Point Atlantic, which is going to wind up with some very good jobs for our entire area. I do have a few items that we'd like to at least kind of slip into your agenda. I know the financing is very tight, so we didn't bring the entire shopping list, but a few things that I think would be worth your attention. The Middle River Growth Area Roundtable. It was created about 5-6 years ago, Kathy.
Yeah.
And its purpose was to try to coordinate with the development that's going on along Route 43 and the infrastructure needs and the community impact that it was going to be having and the impact on the various businesses. That group has worked diligently and has gotten a very strong cooperation from the county, and we would hope that you can reinstitute that group, not that it went out of business, but recharge it, if you will, because I think it's an important conduit to get the information. So anyhow, second thing we want to talk about, you mentioned private-public partnership. And you know Eastern Baltimore County has a very, very strong interest in its history. Everything from Sparrows Point to Glenelg Martin's. Interestingly enough, the Glenelg Martin Aviation Museum, which is down at the airport, is making strong efforts to create a nationally recognized aviation museum, something that would honor the tremendous contributions of Eastern Baltimore County to World War II and to Glenelg Martin. And they need help. The state is stepping forward, Lockheed Martin is stepping forward, and I just ask that you consider what they're doing. They're also making an effort to bring back a Martin Mars. Anybody remember what the Martin Mars was? The largest seaplane to ever go in production, produced right here in Eastern Baltimore County. 2 left in existence. Since you gave me time, I'll ramble. 2 left in existence. And they're fighting fires down in Canada. All right, moving. There we go. All right, Victoryville Community Center. Getting very old. I know there's others that don't even have a community center. Ours is a World War II vintage. If you could just slip it into the agenda for consideration, we'd appreciate it. The Middle River Volunteer Fire Department, it's now called the Middle River Fire and Volunteer Fire and Rescue. Anyhow, it's a combined company. Its services are tremendously beneficial to a large portion of this district. They need a new fire station. They're working on getting a location. They're raising funds. They need support from the county. The county has existing mechanisms to do that. We're just making a strong pitch for how valuable that is to us. And along those same lines, there's a substantial amount of open space land available on Leland Avenue. And the county just recently purchased some with POS money, Program Open Space, state money given to the county. There are additional funds available, and there happens to be a substantial amount of land on Leland Avenue that belongs to the fire company that could be purchased with POS money. It would become county open space, and the funds would go right back into the fire department to help build their new station.
Is that the 8 acres? 8 acres? Is that the 8 acres?
It's more than 10 acres, but yeah, in that neighborhood. Very, very good property. There's you're familiar with Campbell Boulevard Extension, which is going to go from White Marsh down Route 7 and across Moore's Lane and all the way up to 43. There's one piece of it that seems to just drag on, and it's the replacement of Moore's Lane Bridge. That bridge was torn down 4 or 5 years ago. Longer than, and it's been in design. How long does it take to design a bridge? A few years, I would think, but not a decade. It's time to get that moving, and it would take a lot of pressure off of some failing intersections that are on other parts of Route 7.
All right, last minute, last word, Bob.
Last word is, we're very concerned about our waterfront, and we'd like to put a pitch in for the Middle River and Tidal Gunpowder Small Area Watershed Action Plan and the Bird River Restoration Committee, both of which are doing great work to enhance the quality of our water. And that's my last note. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate all your work. I'm going to give the councilwoman the last word, but before I do, thank you all for hanging in there. I'll hang around for a few more minutes. If there are any other questions or concerns, we'll have our outreach team hang too. But thank you for your interest and for being a part of this process. I hope that tonight's just the beginning of a conversation of where we're going together. So thank you all very much.
Again, we're so grateful that the county executive is here tonight. I want to thank everybody that came out tonight. It was so great to see so many of our community leaders and advocates for their communities and board members and just everyday citizens that wanted to come out and hear what's going on in the county. And this was your night to come to us and share what was on your mind. So I'm very grateful that you all came, and have a safe drive home.
Thank you.